Tuesday, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, a rerun, episode 44, airs on a cable network built entirely around bowling. Then the signal cuts to a card that reads, "Transition period, thank you for watching." That week, an executive repeats the phrase to trade press, nothing else. 4 years earlier, bowling drew $4.2 million on ABC, $40 million burned in 11 months, and no one who committed the capital ever explained where it went. That week, Mark Stevens, the network's senior vice president, repeats the phrase in an interview. "We are entering a transition period while we evaluate alternative distribution models for professional bowling." The words carry no timetable, no plan, just a public placeholder. 4 years earlier, ABC's bowling broadcast drew 4.2 million viewers in a single weekend. Now, the audience is left with a blank screen and a phrase that means nothing. The network's disappearance is not explained by ratings alone. No official statement, no breakdown of losses, no names attached to the final decision. The only trace is an on-screen card and a line in the trade press. The arithmetic, 44 episodes, one abrupt sign-off, and a baseline that once reached millions remains unaddressed. The investor pitch deck projected a subscriber base of 1.2 million households in year one. Advertising was valued at $18 cost per 1,000 impressions, a rate that would place bowling alongside mid-tier cable sports. The rights fee promised to the Professional Bowlers Association was set at $7 million, locked in by a signature on the rights agreement dated May 15, 1998. The legal signatory was Bowling Ventures LLC, a capital entity formed for this deal. The numbers appeared on slide 7 of the deck: 1.2 million households, $18 per 1,000 impressions, and $7 million to secure exclusive broadcast rights. The contract spelled out a multi-year vision, but the first payment alone required $2 million on launch. No caveats, no footnotes, only the arithmetic of optimism. The documents show a clean line from pitch to contract. Bowling Ventures LLC commits, the Professional Bowlers Association countersigns, and the network is born on paper. These projections, untested and unsigned by any major cable operator, became the foundation for every dollar spent in the 11 months that followed. Trade press analysts recorded the slide in plain numbers. The July 1997 issue of Sports Business Journal documented a 40% drop in ABC's bowling ratings between 1995 and 1997. The peak, 4.2 million viewers, collapsed to less than 2.6 million in just 2 seasons. These figures sat in black and white, a direct warning to anyone considering a new national network. No digital Nielsen logs survive for those broadcasts. The only record is the Sports Business Journal article itself, cited by every later profile. The original audience, once measured in millions, was shrinking before the first dollar of capital was ever committed. Despite this, the pitch deck referenced only the old baselines, ignoring the documented decline. The central arithmetic, 4.2 million down by nearly half, was not a secret. It was printed in the trade press, visible to every executive and investor. The projections that followed did not adjust for this loss. No one in the capital stack could claim they weren't warned. The first month's ledger tells the story in numbers. $3.2 million spent on production, $800,000 brought in from advertising sales. The gap is immediate, visible on every internal report. By August, the monthly cash burn hits $5.1 million, outpacing any revenue projection from the original deck. A finance memo dated March 28, 1998 lands on the desk of Chief Executive Officer John J. Darnell. The memo's language is clinical, but the arithmetic is not. If the channel continues at this pace, all capital will be exhausted before the end of the first year. Darnell signs off on a $10 million bridge loan recorded in the quarterly 10Q filing with his name on the authorization line. No public disclosure, no press release, just a signature and a line of credit. The spending continues. There is no adjustment to the launch plan, no pause for review. The official numbers are paired in every filing: cost against revenue, projection against reality, signature against silence. In February 1999, the last appearance fee was issued to Walter Ray Williams Jr., a $25,000 check, the final payment to a bowler on record. The ledger stops there. By March, a $1.2 million invoice from a production vendor appears on the balance sheet, unpaid and unaddressed. Internal correspondence describes a temporary suspension of certain vendor obligations, a phrase that never reaches the press. No public explanation is given for the halted payments. The network's official filings show no provision for these debts. In June, the legal entity behind the channel is quietly dissolved. The SEC dissolution notice lists only a transfer of remaining assets to the PBA, with no mention of outstanding liabilities or the fate of unpaid contractors. The public receives a single, vague statement about a transition period. Behind the scenes, the books are closed with obligations unresolved and no names attached to the final decisions. The arithmetic: $25,000 paid, $1.2 million withheld, dissolution filed, remains buried in the paperwork. The public statement arrived as a single paragraph, just 47 words. It said, due to unforeseen cash flow constraints, the company has elected to temporarily suspend payment of certain vendor obligations pending a comprehensive financial restructuring plan. We remain committed to exploring all options to ensure the continued visibility of professional bowling. No names, no dollar amounts, no timeline. The actual loss reported in the PBA's 1998 Form 10-K was $36.5 million net operating, not just the channel. Analysts in the Sports Business Journal put the true figure between $38 million and $42 million. The statement avoided every number. The filing supplied only the whole, never the parts. No mention of the $1.2 million unpaid invoice, no breakdown of the bridge loan, no disclosure of the cash burn. What the public received was a placeholder. What the record shows is arithmetic that never made it into print. In November 2000, the Professional Bowlers Association changed hands for $5 million. The buyers, Chris Peters, Rob Glazer, and Mike Slade, were introduced as a rescue team with technology credentials, not as inheritors of a failed network. The official press release never mentioned the cable channel or the $40 million already spent. There was no accounting for the 11 months of losses, no breakdown of what vanished. In the first quarter after the sale, the new owners reported a loss of $4.6 million, attributed to legacy media obligations. The acquisition documents omitted the network entirely, but the debt resurfaced in the filings. The arithmetic was hidden in plain sight: a sale of $5 million, a quarterly loss of $4.6 million, and a vanished line item that never appeared in public statements. $40 million vanished in less than a year. Dividing that by the 44 episodes produced, the cost per viewer lands at $1.26, nearly double the 71 cents it would have cost to keep bowling on ABC for another season. The official records show a total audience reach of just under 32 million impressions, but the money spent bought little more than silent reruns and unpaid invoices. While the industry debated ratings, the real damage played out in the alleys themselves. 2,100 closures were reported by the BPAA in the first year after the network's collapse, rising to 2,940 by 2002. The arithmetic is simple, the consequences are lasting, the receipts are public, but the names on the checks remain out of view. No public record names the individual or entity who signed the original capital commitment for the rights contract. The legal paperwork lists Bowling Ventures LLC, but the signature line is blank in every filing released to date. No SEC document, no press release, no trade press interview ever identifies the person who authorized the first transfer of funds. The contract's minimum guarantee clause required millions up front, but the actual signer remains untraceable. The capital source is referenced only through a shell, with no officer or principal named in any accessible archive. The unanswered ledger leaves accountability suspended in the paperwork. $40 million vanished in silence. $5 million bought the entire league 4 years later. The true ledger remains sealed, the names behind the numbers unspoken. Today, when a sport disappears from TV, arithmetic, not nostalgia, writes the ending. Who signed the check still matters. Let the record show the gap,